right, here we go. Episode 3, Comfort Breeds Complacency. Today we got a friend that I've known since high school. We went to high school together. We were in the same sport academy in high school, just for different sports. So episode 3 is Cole Richardson.
Hey, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. It's been a bit for sure.
Yeah, I just want to have you on. I know you've had a pretty different would you say, sports career. You've been through a couple different things, but it's progressed. But yeah, I just want to maybe if you could start talking about where you started off playing hockey, I know. And
hockey player, I want to say, 16 or 17 years. Played, Bantam, like the top teams the whole way through. Was pretty fortunate for that. Had really supportive parents. Caught the injury bug early. Seemed like every single season I was always, dealing with a knee, a shoulder, a wrist, concussion, something like that. And then finally had the opportunity, to go play some junior here, Lloydminster, Canucks, stuff like that. Ended up kind of from there going to the States, and that was kind of where things were looking really good for me. It was one of those things, is hockey what I wanted? Is hockey what I didn't want? And then when I hit about 19, 20, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll play hockey as long as I can. I love it. It was fun. It was good. So was fortunate enough to play down in Texas, El Paso. We won a national championship. We had a great year. It was so fun. Just probably the best year of personal growth I could have ever wanted for hockey. And opened up a couple of doors for scholarships, and actually, was fortunate enough to accept one. And then again, the lovely injury bug hit you once again at a practice, just kind of out of nowhere, just back pain. Our coach was a little bit of a hard ass, gotta say. And one practice we were getting skated for about 3 straight hours, no pucks, no nothing. It was rough go. And after about an hour, my back just out of nowhere, kind of searing pain. Didn't really go away. Parents raised me, my dad specifically raised me to be, the tough kid. So I don't care if your arm's severed from your body. If it gets cut off, you pick it up, you get off the ice, you do it after. So I didn't say anything, didn't really complain. And then as we got off the ice, I kind of knew something was wrong, and I went right from the rink to the hospital and was kind of told right then and there that the career was over.
Really?
And scholarship was gone, European pro. I never would have gone, to the NHL or something like that, but was definitely good enough to avoid, a real job and have fun, pursue the passion for a good 15, 20 years. And then kind of get back to the reality we call, life. But yeah, they told me I had 3 herniated discs in my lumbar spine and degenerative disc disease to that of about a 80, 90-year-old at 21. So sitting in a hospital all by myself, no parents, no nothing. Kind of didn't want to, you don't really want to believe it. Just kind of, it took a U-turn for sure on the life, but we made the most of it. We're still here. We're kicking it. I guess we can probably get into that stuff later, but as far as hockey goes, I guess that would be the best way to start off. Yeah. Was the injury one acute thing, or was it just a build up over time, or? That was the weird thing, is they couldn't really answer me. They said it was, genetics, time, acute, maybe a little bit of ongoing chronic stuff. But I do know that when I was, I want to say 16, I tore the annulus, so like the outer ring of the disc in my lumbar spine, doing leg press. And that was pretty much same kind of pain. So my physio thinks that it was started there, and kind of just as time went, I never really fixed it or did the proper rehab for it to move through the injury properly, and then it just eventually gave out again. But 3 times is worse, and irreparable this time. So yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. Even talk about lifting. I'm sure you learned, especially through NSA. Like I know I did. We learned as young kids how to train as professional athletes, which I feel is super valuable if you want athletics to be a part of your career or healthy lifestyle and everything. So I know in baseball, even the things that most athletes look over, we did a lot of journaling stuff, mental training, all this stuff that diet, nutrition, that many athletes that are very good at what they do, but they might look over that to get to the next level. Totally. Do you want to kind of talk about NSA a bit and your experience there? NSA gave me a really good backbone for a lot of things like professionalism. and more self-accountability. I never had to do that aside from when I was in high school. Like, yeah, your team, your coaches, your mental guys always try to, let's watch video, let's do this kind of thing. But with NSA, we had to do specific journal entries, and I had to give examples of, like, what did you do this week that you didn't do last week, or what did you work on this week that you wanted to improve upon. And it's funny is I never really took that through with hockey, but then when everything kind of came to an end with hockey, and the doc said, you're never going to lift weights, you're never going to be active, you're never going to do this, kind of never, and I was just kind of felt like put in a box. That's kind of when that stuff started happening more. It took a year, of course, post-injury to kind of get there mentally, after some unfortunate things happen. You when stuff like that happens, you believe it. You go, I guess I'm screwed. And so, I put on 100 pounds. I was not in a good mental place. Just life after sport. They say athletes have two deaths. The first one's your career. The second one's your life when you kick the bucket here. But when I got into, like, the whole diet, exercise, and lifting for like health, as you say, the whole lifestyle around NSA and what they taught us, that's really when I started using it. And so, like, nutritional books in my apps and stuff, like tracking calories, making programs, following through on diets, like all that stuff came to be super relevant with bodybuilding and just even like small things like piano, school, in general. I don't know. It's just, it worked well to journal and to kind of inflect and reflect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Set a good base for everything to build upon.
Yeah.
Speaking of that transition kind of from hockey, and then you got into bodybuilding, right? And competing. How did that come about?
Well, same as you do. I've seen you do a couple of crazy things around the world, You love being told you can't do something, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Just push yourself.
Because you want to do it more.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
So when somebody said, well, you're never going to lift again, you can't lift again, you can't be active, I went, really? Like, is it that? People have life after injury, and I don't really care what you deal with. You lose an arm, you lose a leg. People work through it, and if you don't work through it, my doctor called it the, and again, I think it was the wheelchair mentality, is those who end up in a wheelchair and let themselves stay in a wheelchair will almost likely never get out of it. Whereas those who, get injured, always try to, even if they don't get out of it, if they stay positive, get up, walk, get up, try to get out, do their thing, it's empowering. It's, the likelihood they get out of that wheelchair or that situation at least is higher. So that was kind of the thing for me, is after a year of moping around, living from couch to bed to kitchen to toilet to school, it was just like, I got to do something here. And my dad was a big help in that. As soon as he kind of came and we chatted, we said, well, just lose some weight, just a little bit of weight, lose a little bit of weight. And then all of a sudden, 10 pounds fell off, and back feels better. Okay, 10 more pounds came off, back feels better. And just kind of took its own form from there, I guess. It started with just like a shoulder day, like super light, then arms in there, and then all of a sudden I was doing 2 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off, and don't really know where it came from, just out of kind of nowhere. It was like, okay, I'm in the gym 7 days a week, twice a day. I'm running, I'm walking, I'm lifting weights, and then I said to my dad, I think I want to do a show. And we did the show, and we did a second show, and contemplating doing a third as we sit here, actually. So couple things, but man, no, it definitely, to me, was the thing that gave me the ability to say bye to hockey, because you go out on your terms rather than a doctor's or the universe's. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so to be able to pursue something on your own and do it fully to yourself's ability, like with hockey, Dad and I got into a couple of spitting wars once in a while, and but with bodybuilding, it was just like your diet, your meal prep, your sleep, everything was in check. My head was down, like. And it sucks to say, you lose a little bit of friends, you gain some friends. It's just kind of what you need at the time. But when you're so engulfed in something that you're very passionate about, it's not anybody else to take it away from yourself but yours. And, if you want to do it, you go do it, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where it started, I guess.
Exactly. That's awesome. Yeah, I know, especially in my case, when I played collegiate baseball, and same type of thing. I I actually started in high school. I got a really bad concussion in intramural dodgeball, and that
Good old dodgeball.
set off for just like hell, basically. Couldn't do anything for like 6 to 8 months, and just after that, I just kept getting concussions easier and easier, and I just had no confidence playing baseball, and I couldn't play the way I wanted to, and like it wasn't fair to me or the team to play like that. So unfortunately, I had to let that go. I just didn't feel like I could do it anymore, but I still really wanted to compete. So that's kind of how I got into again, like in high school, if you were to say, oh, you'd be doing ultra stuff, or like, I don't even know what the hell ultra is.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
But yeah, it's funny how path, you just start with one decision, and then you can go down these roads that you like never knew were possible or never even knew you'd enjoy. So
what was I guess the first thing that you kind of said to yourself, I want to try that? What was the switch point when you stopped and started?
Yeah, well, my dad did triathlons when I was a kid. Like, I'd always see him. He was always been this huge cyclist, and I swam as a kid competitively, and I was always like a big runner, and so I thought maybe I'll just try a triathlon. And then this is while I was still playing baseball. One weekend I just did like a sprint triathlon in Okotoks.
Just over a weekend, you just gave it a try, hey?
Yeah, just tried it, but like borrowed my dad's bike, and I remember thinking back, because when I was swimming, I was pretty good back in the day, but I hadn't swam in years, and just the like cocky naivety of me is like, oh, I'm going to start at the front with everybody. So like we ran into the water, and like 400 meters in, like at the turnaround point, like, holy, I could barely stay up. Like I was about to drown, got out of the water, and like everybody's through the transition like super quick, and I'm putting on my shoes and my socks. And how are they doing this so fast? And then I mean, I did all right in it, not great, but that just got me kind of hooked. Like, oh, there's so much I can learn in this, and I've like enjoyed the racing part and being able to compete again and not worry as much. Like if you crash on the bike, obviously it's like the risk of concussion, but the actual sport itself isn't diving for a ball or getting hit by a ball or like whatever.
It's not injury.
Yeah, like, part of the sport, the injury. So that's kind of what got me into it. And then, I just got in with a good coach in Kelowna where I was, just tried to find people to surround myself with, and I lucked out, surround myself with going to be a future Olympian who's training with us, Brock Hole, and just Ironman world champion for his age group, Jamie, and like just a whole bunch of different guys that are super talented. Our coach Luke Way, but that was good to see that I could learn and progress from these guys. But I also realized that maybe competing in triathlon wasn't what was for me, as far as I could see what they did, and they were just like smoking me, and I'd put in the same hours and training, and they're still way ahead of me. Obviously they had more time doing it, but
genes too, like genetics matter in that regard.
Exactly too. But then I did my ride across America, and I just thought like, oh, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. So that's how I've kind of shifted into the ultra stuff, and still super new, still learning, but I know how it's like a big blow when you think your whole identity is one thing, and then all of a sudden it's just taken away from you. So but I think like that's awesome that you're able to as well learn that you can't do this anymore, but like I said, comfort breeds complacency, not just be complacent and accept it, like keep pushing.
It's one of those things, man, where it's like, like 10 to 15 years of your life is planned out already. You don't really have to think of, hey, what if it's not? And then when that moment happens, if it does, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on the person, it might be one of those moments of you need to hit your rock bottom, because at the bottom you can't go lower. And that was kind of what I feel like happened to me is, when I was 305 pounds or 303 pounds and just pissed off at the world, like, why me? That was kind of the only place I needed to get to get to where I am now, because without that, I don't think I would appreciate what I do now with life. And I think that the biggest thing is you have to want to help yourself too. I'm sure you deal with pain, chronic injury pain all the time. I know I still do. But again, it's one of those things where kind of dealing with it for longer and longer periods, how to help it, how to handle it, how to manage it better. And I don't know, I just don't let that put a damper on my life anymore. But it took a while to get there.
Oh yeah.
Identity loss is a big one, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know especially like I've realized there's certain things I can't do as much. Like I still one day thought I would be playing football, and like you just kind of one day have to be like, oh, you know, I gotta just watch it now. Like I can't do that. Totally. But you just find what you can do, I think is important. And just not lay down and die, you know.
No, to me it's like a diet, you know. You can't cut it out forever, just do it less. Moderation, you know, stuff like that. Eventually it'll work itself out and you'll figure out something that works for you. Yeah. Which is nice. So no, golf for me, same thing. It's like once or twice a year. It's good enough for me. Otherwise I'm in bed. Yeah. In bed with some pain. Twisting. Yeah, exactly.
I did want to talk about the diet, but especially discipline. What was, so you competed in it's men's physique?
Physique first, classic second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So physique's the one with the longer shorts,
yeah,
right?
Think more like a surfer board short type thing.
So that was your first competition, the physique?
Yeah, most people would do that one first too, just because it's, you know, it's still need to be super dedicated, super all that stuff like that so much doesn't change. It's just, you're not putting yourself out there so crazily. If you've never done bodybuilding before, it's at least easy enough to kind of figure out if you like the sport. Yeah. You know?
Okay. So how you did the first show, how long is it from first to second show?
March, I want to say 13th or 14th, and then November. Same year. November 14th also, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So in this time, you had a coach, right? You have a coach?
Oh yeah, Zach Spencer was my coach. All right. Still a good buddy of mine today too.
How did that work with training? He would just give you workouts and then you'd follow him to a T, or did you do your whole meal plan, nutrition too, or?
So he you know, my degree being, it's called physical literacy. So ironically, it's not kines, very, very similar to kines. Physical literacy is kind of like the whole idea of being fit for life, teaching people to kind of advocate for themselves, to be able to be fit, to run a diet, at least have enough knowledge to kind of handle it themselves. And so with my degree, I did learn and know how to do the dieting aspect of things. So he didn't really give me he gave me macros to follow and calorie counts. And basically I was able to set my own diet parameters as long as it hit those counts. I always felt for me keto was good. Again, not an advocate for keto, not against keto. It's just I function better on high fat, I find, even still now. I still eat carbs, of course. It was just one of those things that worked for me. But the first show, as far as following things to a T, super easy to go to the gym. Super easy to go to the gym, super easy to get the cardio done. The late night cravings, 11, 12 o'clock at night, as soon as you started getting into the nitty gritty calories, I'll be honest with you. First show I definitely cheated on a little bit. You know, there's a little couple extra almonds here and there. I do remember I had one weekend where he went out of town and I totally took advantage of it. And Saturday night I ordered a pizza. I remember it. And he didn't hear from me for 4 days. And he texted me, he goes, "What did you eat?" He goes, "I know you did something because I haven't heard from you." And he goes, "And I only don't hear from you when you're not doing stuff." Oh, pardon me. And I went, "Okay, you caught me." And I owned it. And he kind of said, "Well, I need to see what you look like. Otherwise, you know, we might not be able to do the show." And sure enough, it worked out okay. But it was just funny because he knew, because, you know, he's done it too. Yeah. He's done a fair share of shows. But you know, you hold yourself to this high standard, and people don't think it's like, oh yeah, 3 almonds, it's not gonna bother you, or 4 pieces of pizza. It's like, you know what? It might not, it probably won't. The ideal situation, yeah, it won't. But what happens if you go to that show, you lose? You got to sit there and say to yourself, the almonds. Was it the almonds in the pizza, right? And thank God, you know, that I was fortunate enough to say I came out of the first show with a win. But after the first show was done, and we knew I was going to do another one, the second show took a vastly different form. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was like it was around Christmas when everybody was like back in town. It was the year before that second show of yours. I remember we were at like a party together, and you weren't doing any. You were like on your diet. I remember you talking. We were talking back and forth. I remember specifically you talking about, it's the difference between like an almond or 2, the people that win. And I was thinking like, I feel for you, because I remember when I was when I was doing when I first got into triathlon, and I was training for the World Championships in Switzerland for the age group I was in. It was the same. I was counting like to the T carbs, right? In my Fitness Pal is my favorite app, and you're weighing your chicken, weighing everything. And like my life was basically just working. Like I skip the dishes driving. So I trained, skip the dishes and meal prep. And I didn't see anybody.
Meticulous, for sure.
Yeah. I know I felt in like unreal shape and everything, but mentally I got to a point where like it was so tough. Whereas like you said, you do break down sometimes.
Yeah.
And if I would have a day like that, it'd be like, oh, well, today's a write-off. So I'm just going to eat whatever today.
One meal was bad, so let's do the next two too.
So then you make that a write-off, but then those keep happening. You can get into some mental trouble that way. But
totally.
No, I respect that so much.
What was your big meal? Chicken? Was it chicken?
Yeah, chicken, quinoa, rice, sweet potatoes.
Do you still like chicken?
Yeah, I load it up with some sauce now.
Yeah, you do it differently.
Burn some calories with training, but I'm not worried specifically about the physique. It's more just about performance. But
Fair.
I can see, it's like I have so much respect for people who their job is to look the best, right? Because your body fluctuates so much. I know I can have like a little bit more salt and wake up in the morning and be like, how many pounds did I gain? Like you just blow up, like, and just knowing all about like carbs and dehydrating and all that. Do you kind of want to talk about that? Like getting prepped for a show? Like once the training's done, you're getting ready. What's
like the last kind of week?
Yeah, the
kind
lead
of thing?
up kind of.
That was, I would honestly tell you this is you could prep for a show for 16 weeks, you could prep for 12, for 20. If you screw up peak week, your whole prep doesn't matter, almost at all. Like you overcarb up, you underwater, you have too much water, or like any of those salts, all that stuff, you cramp on stage, anything. It's like, okay, you screwed up peak week. Now what? And you can't really bounce back. And that's the thing, is they say peak week is the most important week. And it's the easiest and hardest week at the same time. So you pretty much stop training altogether on, like, let's say the show's Saturday, just make it easy. You'd stop training on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and those 2 days would be mostly 1 or 2 sets of bicep. You do 1 set or 2 of every muscle group. It wouldn't be an actual workout.
Just a pump.
And because you've been going, balls to the wall the whole 16, 12 weeks, your coach, Zach, would say to me, I want you to leave 2 reps in the tank and leave in the gym. I'm like, I didn't know how to do that. Mm-hmm. So it was weird. But you do it, but it was just weird, just leaving 1 or 2 reps extra. It's like, I've been training at 140% with 60% energy for so long. And now you're telling me to train at 60% energy, okay, sure, I'll embrace it. But the hardest part was the water. You drink so much water on peak week, it is ridiculous. You know those big 40 liter gallon jugs? Oh yeah. I was drinking one of those a day for 4 days straight. Really? Yeah. Like you track your water all prep, and then on day 1 you either 125% or 150% of the water intake. So you just will add 25 or 50%. Day 2 you'll add more. Day 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. And then on the way out, pretty much the last day or 2, it's gone. Water's cut. And your body thinks, I have all this extra water, because all you've been doing is just, you're cold, you're frozen. It's so funny. You're just shivering because you have no fat on your body, and you can barely eat because all you're doing is drinking so much water. And you must pee 30, 40 times. Like I must have peed 45, 50 times in 1 or 2 days of those shows. I'm not kidding you. It's funny because most of your day is not even spent doing productive things. You have homework, you have things. No, you're just in the bathroom peeing. And
probably like energy loss too.
Yeah. And then on top of that, so we have a bathtub here. He asked me to do Epsom salt baths. Mm. So you're dumping into the hottest bath water possible, salt to raise the temperature there. And then while you're in the bath, you're drinking another big, like this, you'd be drinking, I'm not kidding you, probably 50 of those a day. And it would just be like, you have no choice. You got to get it done. But if you look at it that way, you're screwed. So you got to go get a big.
So like the water cooler jugs, right? The big blue ones. Yeah. That's crazy.
Like I'd be drinking, mammoth mugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I drank 24 liters, 28 liters a day. So just about, and it was just like, it was funny. I'm just like, don't people die from water consumption? And so I'm drinking it in the bathtub, and I remember breaking down on the second show specifically, like cry, like just sit in the bathtub, just like it's so warm, I'm so cold, I don't like this, and I'm like, and all my friends are like praying that I win, and everybody's looking at, just one of those like,
Yeah.
And my mom and dad and sister are just laughing at me, like, it's okay, Cole, like, you have like 2 days left, just tough it out. But you got to have those weak moments because it's funny. But yeah, I'll never forget how timed water was, how important Epsom salt baths were, and how just different peak week was from the rest of the week. You're just stuffing your face with food. It's almost reverse psychology. It's just weird, and that's what kind of messes with you. And that's why I would say bodybuilding itself, for me, I'm still trying to figure out if that's what I want to do, or if it's more, which identity do I want to pursue right now? Is it school driven? Is it career focused? Or is it more one last thing of bodybuilding? Because with, the switch up of the opposite of stuff, and then you gain weight after the show, all that stuff kind of plays out. And I think that's what makes it a difficult sport too. Nobody sees that stuff, right? They all see the training, but nobody sees the diets. Same as you said with when you were prepping for your show, or were Switzerland, sorry, correct?
Yeah.
It's nobody sees the not on camera stuff, or the stuff that you do behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so they think it's hard, but they really don't know. And that's, where it's like, I get respect for ultra endurance athletes like you, or, even guys like David Goggins, who just go and run 100 kilometers for no reason. Just crazy to me. It's just, it's cool to see how people operate, and it's just different for everybody, which is fun. So yeah, I don't know if that answered the question. I guess.
So to me, it sounds a lot like I follow like UFC and fighters, and it sounds really like their weight cuts for making weight and stuff, and a lot of the same things. Sounds
Steam
like,
rooms,
it sounds like hell they're going through to make it there. When you're on the stage, because you said in the peak week you are eating more. So do you have energy when you're on the stage?
Yes, but you're so full of food too. So and you have no water to digest it. So you have to pose and do all your things. Bloated sometimes, if you're not digesting. And so, yeah, I think just to give you perspective, I hadn't eaten a burger in like 20 weeks. And the night before my show, I had 3 plates of yam fries and 2 bacon cheddar burgers from Earl's in one meal. And I got out of there and I looked so like full of like, it was so cool. And then in the morning, it was just like I never ate before.
Really?
Yeah, I was back to stringy. My trainer goes, "Oh no, we didn't fill you out enough. We got to eat some more." And so I pumped, 10 or 12 pancakes into me with syrup and raspberries and everything. And then we for 2 hours we looked good. First stage show was great. And then, with COVID, everything the whole show itself kind of got dislodged in terms of like how they planned it. So for the second hour, they had everybody get ready on stage. They're like, "Yep, okay, you're up next. And then all of a sudden, nope, you're not up. And so I've eaten my meal and I've taken my pre-workout with a little bit of water that you're allowed. And now they're saying, no, 45 minutes delay. And then so you're going back and you're going, okay, well, what do I do? What do I eat? And he can't come back there because you got the distancing, right? And so he can only kind of see me. So I walk over and he's looking at me. He's like, okay, yeah, you know what? Wait 10 minutes and then have a little bit of this. Wait 10 more minutes and then have a little bit of salt. Wait 10 minutes, have a little bit more pre-workout. And so for about an hour and a half, we did that, and it was hard to kind of figure out. But again, still just a fun experience. Just
that's crazy how such little things can affect.
Oh yeah,
because it's not, maybe like you're saying, you don't feel the best up there, maybe like full, but like it's about instead of performance, maybe like it would be in hockey, how you want to feel the best while you're playing. It's about like how you look, right?
100%. It does matter how you feel.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How so what they spray you or they turn you up?
Yeah, so my I was fortunate enough, my ex-girlfriend girlfriend at the time, she worked at Bronzeback, so I was able to kind of pre-tan before the show, so I didn't go from completely the color of this wall to I don't know, a dark tan.
Yeah.
So I went week to week, once or twice to kind of tan through her, and did all that. And then when I got there, when the tan goes on, it goes on a lot more even, so you don't look orange. It helps out, because the idea behind the tan is to have everybody look the same, so that as little discrepancy as possible, whether you're Asian, you're black, you're white, doesn't matter, so that everybody can look as similar as possible, so that when you're grading somebody for their physique and look, it is basically just the raw version of how similar are they, right, kind of thing, body to body, nothing else, and which I love. I think that's a great idea behind the sport. Of course, it still has biases, but yeah, the tanning the night before, a lot of them too, they've done the shows and they've sprayed so many people, they know, who's kind of going to be in the top 2 or 3 a lot of the time. And so you hear them tell guys like, okay, that guy, okay, you. But it's awkward being sprayed. All they give you is a little sock.
Really?
And I want you to think, not a sock that you or I would be wearing right now, more one like a toddler. And you got to put that right on your little lower extremity there. And everything's got to get in the sock because they got to spray everything else. So that's all you're wearing, just a sock. Your ass is out, everything's out, and you're just, okay, turn around, lift the arm, and you're just like, okay, hey, thanks.
You're going to jail.
Yep, pretty much. Like, and it's funny because you get guys and girls spraying you. It's just, and obviously everybody, again, body to body is different in that sense. So it's just like, you get guys like, I need a second sock, or, just idiots, right? Like, and because
have a hot girl spraying you and need a second sock.
Exactly. You gotta just kind of close your eyes and just hope and pray it's over quicker than it needs to be, kind of thing. But yeah, funny experience for sure. I still have both my socks. Oh. I kept them. Yeah, those weren't going away anywhere.
So you won both competitions?
Won the first one and the overall. The second one I won my division and came second in the overall.
Okay.
Sorry, something's making a noise over there. I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's all good. What could you explain when you're talking about diet? Could you explain the actual like day to day, like how when you're leading up to it before you get into peak week and stuff? Like how often are you eating? Like what are you eating?
I want to say I hate going long periods without food unless I'm going to eat big meals. So at the beginning of prep, I always start with like 6 meals a day, and then I'll drop to 5 and then 4, and I'll try to keep 4 with a snack or 2. But again, like I said, so I was keto. So most of my meals, I did that because again, with my back, I find, and I do have a little bit of IBS. So I found that for digestive purposes, for anti-inflammatory and kind of like the joint pain, keto just worked best for me just because it was so easy to kind of incorporate. And, for me, a lot of the things are, if you don't think about it, it's just easier. Again, people hate keto. I'm very much a big advocate of what works for you, works for you. What works for somebody else doesn't work for somebody else. Yeah. And pick and choose, trial and error kind of thing. And so for me, keto, and I would have, so it was, those Kirkland egg whites, the blue containers. Yep. I would have that, almost an entire carton of that with, it was my little concoction because I was barely allowed to use butter, because the calories, right? So I would just do a little Pam spray in the pan so that the eggs wouldn't stick, and I would turn it on super low. I'd like dump the whole thing in there, and I remember because food tastes bland when you can't spice it, so dry spice became my thing, and like my goal was to become the Gordon Ramsay of dry spice on bodybuilding. My goal was to make sure that bodybuilding food could taste good if you wanted it to. And so sure enough, when people now, when they're like, oh dude, I'm prepping, or my sister or my mom or friends are like, oh dude, how'd you do those eggs? I'm like, I'm Gordon Ramsay.
Sauce.
Exactly. And so for example, like just small things like chili flakes I found, rather than, like a barbecue sauce or anything like with calories, I would rather use a dry spice like chili flakes, salt and pepper. Does wonders for eggs, believe it or not. And again, instead of cheese, you could I would measure out cheese to the gram and just to have a little bit in there, and I wouldn't cook the eggs fully. I'd let them, so they were like it was just, there was things meticulous that I did that just became, okay, this worked. We're going to do this every day from now on. And so it was that, and I would say depending on the day, between 2 and 4 salmons and 2 and 4 chicken breasts, and then whatever the other one. So if I had 2 salmons, it'd be 4 chicken breasts, and then vice versa. I actually didn't use protein all that much. I preferred it just hormonally. I don't know. I got a lot of acne from it the first show I did. I was doing like 3-4 scoops of protein a day. Again, because you don't know how to kind of figure out where the calories should come from.
Is it whey protein too?
Yeah. And it would be an isolate, but it's still, I don't know. It didn't agree with me as much. So I stayed away from protein. Even after workouts, it would be more chicken-based food. Stuff like that.
Whole foods,
it's just also better. There's actual nutrients and stuff in there too, right? Not to say it's bad, but again, just I'm a big proprietor of whole food versus anything
especially
else.
If you can have it.
Yeah, of course. And then I remember it was was 150 grams of asparagus or broccoli or green beans at every meal. And then I could pick any protein I wanted to. So it could be ground beef, ground pork, turkey, chicken, ribs, steak, salmon, yada, yada, yada. And then at about 10 weeks, he goes, okay, pick 2 proteins. They're going. Pick a veg out of the 3. They're going. Pick one of your snacks so you can't have any more. Oh, okay. Here we go. It's starting to go. But for the first show I was on, the lowest I hit was 1,700 calories. Second show I was about 26. Okay. So, because you gain muscle, your metabolism gets better, right? And so that was kind of nice. I will say I didn't feel the fatigue as much on the second show. And it was weird because I went so deep into the training there. Like that one, I didn't cheat on one almond, didn't cheat on one tomato, not one slice. Like my friends were almost ready to wring my neck because it was too much for them almost, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, again, worth it. It was something to be so cool to be, never felt that way before about something. So it was interesting.
So disciplined. And
yeah. Didn't question it. It was just like, okay, last show was close. I almost didn't win that show.
Yeah.
This show, I'm not leaving anything to chance. And it was just like switch flipped. And yeah.
So how tall are you?
Just under 6'3".
6'3". And you're on that second competition. What was your weight?
On stage or at the start?
On stage.
I believe we peaked. So I want to say at the lowest of the low in training, I never got below 200. I was 202. And I want to say on stage day I was 209.
Okay.
So 7 to 9 pounds of in a 3-day window where you gain weight, water, food, all that stuff. You're filling out again.
Okay. And what was your body fat percentage? Do you know?
I do know to an extent. I broke the body fat scale at my chiropractic office. When I say broke it, I mean it physically wouldn't read lower. Hi, buddy. Here, get up. Come here. Come on. There you go. Sorry, Nick. His scale went to 4%.
Yeah.
And at about week 8, it read 4%, and it just kept reading 4. And he looked at me and he's like, "I've never seen this before." And then he Googled it. Sure enough, he goes, "Okay, well, if I set it to this, it'll read it." And when he set it to that, immediately the next time I measured, it went right to 3.5. And so he was just like, "Okay, so I think you're at a point in your show where it's almost pointless to kind of corroborate it." But what was nice to do that was week to week I could see body water changes, muscle mass changes. So maybe my body fat wasn't changing, but was my muscle mass being dropped? Was body water going up? Was stress, cortisol, anything like that being affected? And so that in a way was kind of nice too. But I would say to you, I wouldn't say I was at 4%. I would say I was right around 4 to 5.
Okay.
Yeah, like I had striations in my hips, my glutes, my legs, my face. Like it was wild. And that's again where when you're off the show after, you're like, okay, this is weird. I'm not in shape anymore. Even if you look great.
Yeah.
You know, plays with the head.
What's it like after? Like I know, or thinking about, especially after a race or something for me, or hearing fighters talk, like once they're done the fight, they eat like a ton because they've been like withheld from eating it. But hearing you talk about the peak week, which I wasn't aware of, that you'd eat so much during it. Do you still have those cravings once you're done the show? Yep. Or
you don't. So the rule behind peak week is no sugar.
Okay.
A lot of the time, like guys will throw in a glass of wine the night before. Okay. Because it just dries you right out.
Yeah.
But for me, the first show I put on, I want to say 37 pounds in 10 days.
Really?
Yeah, like there were nights I went to bed with like heart palpitations, thinking I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to wake up. I have too much food in my belly right now. Like my heart's going to explode. Show 2 did not do that. Was not a healthy thing. Would not advocate for doing that. Again, you live by doing, either through mistakes or doing it properly. And the first show was a big okay. We ate way too much food. It was
experience.
Oh yeah, in my experience, yeah, big time. And second show, I just remember I had, because we were doing nationals after. It was second show. Then you go to nationals in 2 weeks. COVID unfortunately canceled it. So we ended up getting to enjoy our food anyway. But I think that was the big part of me being kept in check, because I knew I had another show. So as much as I wanted to enjoy something, I remember, I think after the show that day, we had Chinese food here, and I went to my girlfriend's at the time, and I think we ordered pizza and had a little, we shared a Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and that was it. And my trainer the next day said, okay, go to the gym, hour of cardio, hour of the sauna, we're going to peak you. We got to get you back down in 3 to 4 days so that you have 10 days to kind of restart peak week. And I said, okay. And sure enough, by the fourth day, water's out of your system. I would say better than I did on the other day because, you're a little fuller.
Yeah.
But then, unfortunately,
COVID.
I got a call from him in that afternoon in the gym doing leg extensions. Yep. It's canceled, buddy.
Damn.
Enjoy your pizza tonight. And but it was good because the reverse after that was 3 months of I could have a cheat meal kind of once a week, or a refeed, I should say.
Yeah,
it's a better word, at least more positive for the brain, and kind of go from there. And I never gained weight too much since March.
Okay.
So I went from November to March with very proper refeeds, and then March to April did a little bit of a recomp, dieted, and figured out how to be healthier rather than so yo-yo kind of thing.
Yeah.
With
your training, you're talking about cardio and lifting. Was like a little bit of cardio each day. What was your training like? Did you have certain days for certain muscle groups or?
Yeah. So you'd run a split, chest and triceps, shoulders and biceps, chest and triceps, back and biceps, legs and shoulders. With my back, I didn't want to hit legs too hard. So training into that second show, I would say to you, that was my biggest weakness was legs. And when I got on stage and the night before, a bunch of people did say, oh, you're definitely in there. But it did come down to the legs at the end of the day. And so after that show was done, I made it a point to kind of be able to add more legs into the day and week. But you'd be doing so. I'd say to you, it starts about, let's say, 30 minutes of cardio 3 days a week.
And would you be running or what? What was your choice?
Pick one.
Yeah.
If you want to row. If you want to walk. If you want to bike. For me, I like pain. Much like you, I did stairs.
Oh, yeah.
So Stairmaster. And as much as you hate it, it's just better because he would say to me, rather than minutes, I don't care about minutes, burn a certain amount of calories. And so, Apple Watch, Fitbit, however you track, even just the machine, if you're, as soon as you hit 300 calories, get out of the gym, kind of get out of the cardio. Then you can go lift, or if you've lifted already, do your thing. But it would be, okay, you're doing abs twice a week. This was the start. It would be abs twice a week, pick the day, doesn't matter. Cardio 3 times a week, and then lifting 6 days a week. If you can, 7, at least active 7.
Yeah.
But as the weeks went on, it would be, okay, 300 calories of cardio would turn to 5 days a week of 300 calories. You'd be doing abs 3 days a week, and then all of a sudden you'd be lifting 6 days a week. All of a sudden the cardio was now 5 days a week, staying there, and he would go, okay, 600 calories a day, and then it'd be abs longer. You'd be doing more and more, but because you're doing it over a slow period, you could accommodate to it. You'd still be exhausted, but the things that you started doing all of a sudden got easier. So then you were that person in the gym, at least in my experience again, that you've seen those guys that go in the gym and they do those stupid, do the crazy things on like abs and stuff. And I was curious. And so it got to the point where I was like, okay, cool. I'm that guy now. Like, this is interesting. But again, nothing more than the point of that. And so, but it would get harder and harder while getting easier and easier at the same time, if that's a way to.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Same with training for me. When I first started, it was, like I felt like I've mentioned before, I felt like I'd be injured if I did a 10K run. Yeah. And then like the more work you do and the bigger you build your base up, the more you're able to do. So like the more you can do, then the more you're able to do. So
there is a point of negative returns. Like I imagine when you did, what was the calendar challenges? That was called?
Calendar club challenge.
I imagine, day 1 or 2, great. Day 10, probably okay. As soon as you hit into the marks of 15 to 20, you probably did. It was at the point where, okay, now it's easier, but the negative return on recovery and everything was harder.
That was a mile a day on every day of the month. So day 1, 1 mile, day 2, 2 miles. Yeah. So if by the end of it was like the last day was 50K, but the day before that was 48.5K. So if you were to just, even if you were to do 50K one day and then have like a 5K day, 50K, like if you did it that way, you probably would gain like a huge base and be able to recover. But knowing you finish like late night at 50 or 45K and then next morning you're, I got to go run another 5 hours. Split, and you can't, splints. And you can't run the pace you wanted to because you're so swollen and everything. And then it was winter, minus 35 and the snow up to your ankles and knees and just, but Yeah, I do know what you mean. There is a point of diminishing returns for sure. So you got to be smart with
like
it.
you feel good, but it's like, okay, at what price do I want to take feeling good and let that go away for the look or the performance return too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good to be able to do that and really dial it in for if you're like say, the challenge or until your show's done, and then after that, it's more like you said the weeks before. It was at least manageable. Like you could do it for a longer term rather than like what you're doing right before.
Totally.
So
when you were training like that, did you notice? And I don't know about you, but I know me. At about 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks out of show, hormonally, I would notice things go away too. Like, did you notice that at all with you?
Hormonally, how? Like,
no, you're pissed off at people. You're tired. You're lethargic. What's the word? Your drive is gone completely.
Yeah, no, especially when you're so focused on something and dialed in, you a lot of the time just don't have. You only have energy to focus on what you're doing, especially if you're training 3-4 hours a day, and your mind's just on that, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of time, like you hear people who say, "Well, I'm not talented, I'm obsessed," right? And a lot of the times, other aspects of your life do take a hit with that. Totally. But it all depends, like what point you're at, and I know, relationships for sure. You might not see people, but
it goes to show you your true friends are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even if you don't see them, the ones that are still the ones after that supported you, even if you couldn't be there at the birthday or the dinner, or you were eating something different or you were doing something different, the ones that reach out after said, "Hey man, congratulations," or "Hey, hey buddy, hey pal," whatever. You know that those people, regardless of where you're at in a relationship, they're still your friends regardless, because it's just. It's I don't view it as the same, and I'm sure you're very similar, because when you get engulfed, you probably 30, 40, 60 days at a time, you lose people.
Oh yeah.
And then you come back and it's like, okay, they're still there. Like,
exactly.
They're still around. But
when I was in Mexico, for example, didn't see obviously.
What was it, 51 days?
51 days of riding, yeah. So I was away for all that time. Obviously, you say like hi here or there when you have Wi-Fi or whatever. I talked to my girlfriend and my parents on FaceTime. That's about it. But yeah, I mean, the best friends are the ones where you don't see them for months at a time if you're away, and then when you come back, it's right where you left off. So,
totally.
Yeah, it's always good to have those people. Even speaking about people like that, I was wondering, going from hockey, and I know your NSA in specific, you guys had a ton of guys in your program, and like the camaraderie of a team sport, to then going to an individual sport. I've much had the same thing with baseball. And then going to triathlon, training with the guys, but even more so now being in ultra, a lot of it's individual training.
For sure.
What was it like, that transition for you? Like, did you miss camaraderie and the people? And
so it's funny, we are in a world in 2022, and it's a touchy subject, but if you don't talk about it, it's never going to get kind of solved. Toxic masculinity is very present. And I would say to you that from the get-go for me, I actually never noticed any of that. Again, whether you're a guy or a girl or however you identify it, it's kind of personal preference to me. But when I was bodybuilding and started out, a lot of people, would look at you as that, oh, you're the big guy in the gym, you're the
meathead or something.
You're the meathead, other words to say the least. Of course, I'm not gonna, but and then you kind of open your mouth to talk. At least in my experience, because I like to think I'm a very nice guy. I'm humble, but the judge by its cover thing, as far as everything goes, individually, you're training, you're doing everything yourself, but the community of bodybuilding in Calgary specifically has been impeccable. The guys will train together, they hype you up, the girls, the guys, everybody, honestly. Like, I shouldn't even say guys, it's everybody in the bodybuilding world in Calgary. Of course, you get your outliers that aren't that way, but super positive vibes, super, hey man, like I see you're competing for a show, I work out at this gym, like let's catch a lift one day, or hey, if you need any tips on how to make things taste better, it's just stuff like that. So while, the team sport of hockey itself, you miss the locker room, you miss live with the boys and stuff like that, and definitely the things that go with it, it still happens. It's just different. Mm-hmm. And while you're helming your own diet, you're helming your own stuff like that. It's just, the days that are hard to train were the days that I noticed that the boys or the people that I trained with, to name a few, even I posted about them too, is like find a gym partner, because those days that are hard, even when you're prepping and they're not, they're the reason that you're in the gym that day, because they wanted to go with you too, and you wanted to go with them, and it's like you push each other.
Keep you honest.
Yeah, and so the camaraderie's there. The team is still there. It's just different, kind of.
Instead of all for one goal, you're all helping each other with your own goals.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, again, diet and the culture, which is why I say toxic masculinity is, I look at the health aspect of bodybuilding. I don't think it's a healthy sport.
Yeah,
I really don't. You got, like, myself, I've stayed natural for the whole entirety. But when you look at things, my next show, as I said to you, am I thinking about it? Absolutely. Because if you want to be a big bodybuilder, you got to be on stuff. You got to do it. Even females, males, doesn't matter. And so do I think it's healthy? No. But do I think that there's a point of pushing somebody to be healthy? Absolutely. And so that's the thing, is I think everybody in the gym that knows something should always pass on knowledge to somebody new, to somebody old, to anybody. Don't walk up and, hey, bro, you're doing that wrong, or hey, girl, like, let me give you a tip. You do it properly, be respectful. Maybe just mind your own business, as what's his name, the big bodybuilder on TikTok says. But I think that it's one of those things where share it, because the world is kind of going the other way with health and nutrition right now. It's getting bigger, and I think that in order to keep it everything healthy and all that stuff is just share your wealth, share your knowledge, pass it forward. Otherwise, why are you in there? Yeah,
exactly.
That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. Well, did you have any messages to maybe athletes coming up that, and maybe they feel like they're doing what they're doing, or maybe they obviously had something that didn't go their way and they're maybe in the spot that you were?
Try everything. I'll start with injury. Try everything, because you don't know if nothing will work if you haven't tried it. And again, maybe again, I'm extending a little bit, but something that I found worked for me, ironically enough, was Wim Hof.
Oh yeah, the breathing.
Wim?
Yeah. Breathe in the cold stuff.
So I've been doing that for 2.5 years, cold exposure, but really serious about it for the last 7 months. I haven't missed a day of cold exposure, a day of cold showers. I'll go out in my shorts and shovel the driveway on purpose. I'll breathe while I'm doing it. And I only found that by, the deep dark portal of the internet, right? Yeah. You start here, you end up somewhere else. You start with cats, and all of a sudden you're looking up like 1940s, what happened in psychology, right? It's just weird. But you have to want to help yourself, and the only way you'll do that is, again, outsource. Look at every opinion, look at every option, look at everything when it comes to injury, especially with chronic, long-term, acute, short, whatever. Eventually there's going to be a cure, or maybe not, but at least a management. But you are not what the doctors or whatever your injury has been told you are. Because if you were, I wouldn't be a bodybuilder. I wouldn't be fit. I wouldn't be active. I'm not playing hockey. I'm not doing everything I want to do. But there's something to be said of my doctor basically told me, like, I'm going to be a couch potato. And I believed it. And as soon as I didn't believe it, life changed.
Yeah.
So I would say just you got to help yourself. Ollie, sit. Sit. He's going to bark. Sorry.
It's all good.
And as far as sports go, nobody's going to do it themselves but you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Nobody's going to do it themselves but you. Not your coach, not your trainer, nothing. And so my dad's biggest thing is 15 minutes a day is what separates you from the next person. But if somebody's already doing 15 minutes, you got to do 15 more.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Always try to do more. Always try to better yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that. And, I'm not the best at that, but you work at it every day.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, whether it's piano, whether it's video games, find what you're good at and pursue that, because it's a long life. Short life, but a long in our world.
Yeah.
And a lot of what you do is going to be miserable if it's not what you're passionate about.
Exactly. So yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is, want to help yourself wherever you're at. You got to do it yourself wherever you're at, and whatever you are going to do with both of those things, make sure you're passionate about it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. I apologize for the pup at
It's
the
all
end there.
good. A little doggo. Did you want to tell people your social media and stuff?
Cole Richie 6 is my Instagram. Otherwise, just my name, Cole Richardson, is pretty much everything else. But Instagram is really the only one I use. But yeah, no, I'm thinking of going to get back into the fitness posting content and stuff too.
Right on. Yeah, I always enjoyed seeing your posts.
Thanks. I'm thinking of doing another show, so
nice.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated for sure.
Yeah, we'll stay tuned.
Are you doing anything in the future here? Anything in the works?
Yeah, I had this foot injury that I was just waiting to see. I don't need surgery, fortunately. Good. So, yeah, I'm just kind of figuring out some things, but I've been swimming a lot, so hopefully doing a swimming endeavor soon, but just working through some logistics, so I'm sure I'll mention some stuff soon, but stay tuned, I guess.
We won't wreck anything, man.
Right on.
Well, whatever you do, you know that you got my support at least.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate that.
Everywhere, so.
Hell yeah.
No, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course.
I wasn't sure how this was going to go, but very cool experience. So
yeah, no.
Very interesting. So
good to
I'm happy you're doing this, and I'm happy to help you out too.
Awesome,
and
man.
thanks for the exposure for me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
thanks for sitting down and sharing some wisdom.
Anytime, dude.
So that's Comfort Breeds Complacency, Episode 3, and I'll catch you on the next one. Make sure you try and subscribe, and we're doing weekly, so see you next week.
Thanks,
Keep her not so bad.